Christian activist groups are demanding answers. They want to know why Christians aren't doing more for their fellow believers facing persecution. Here's Paul Strand with more on this story.
Christians of all stripes came to this summit asking why don't believers do more to help their persecuted brothers and sisters around the globe. They hit at Christians in the first world living cushy lives with little thought for those under attack overseas.
We cannot claim Christ only to form our lives around the comforts and the conveniences of the modern Western life without paying mind to the injustice of the Christian persecution that we see around the world.
Many Christians are focused on what a friend of mine calls the 3 B's of good church life. Have you heard about them? The budget, the baptisms, and the building program. And if those 3 things are all in sync together, then the church is deemed to be successful.
The keynote speaker pointed out Jesus told Saul of Tarsus that Saul was attacking Christ when he attacked Christians.
When people persecute Christians, they're really persecuting who? Jesus. In the same way, when we care for the persecuted, we're really caring for Jesus. And that's why Jesus said, whatever you did for the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it to me.
Spudo said he was once considering how much money to donate to starving Christians in Nigeria.
And the Lord whispered something into my heart that I don't believe I'll ever forget. He said, that's me. I'm hungry. And I'm waiting and watching to see who loves me and will give me something to eat.
Longtime defender of religious freedom, Frank Wolf, knocked believers' willful silence.
The church in the West can never say it does not know what is taking place in Iraq or the Middle East today. And Dr. Martin Luther King, to quote him again, said, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends.
Wolf then had a warning for America's Christians.
If the church slumbers, Washington will scarcely lead the way.
Sam Brownback is America's new ambassador at large for international religious freedom.
There's more persecution going on now than a number of authorities have said than any time in the history where we've had recorded history.
But he said governments that persecute believers ignore studies showing their nations will be less successful and more troubled.
If you want less terrorism, you need more religious freedom. If you want more economic growth, you need more religious freedom.
A teen encouraged fellow young people to learn about Christian persecution and get involved in fighting it.
A friend of my older brother's, he said it really eloquently. Awareness without action is not activism.
It doesn't require anything other than put one foot in front of the other and do what God says to do, and do it right now.
Just remember, we're here today because Jesus is still being persecuted through his children. And how we respond to them is really our response to Jesus.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.